welcome back to Stacy's Bookcase. I'm Stacy, and this is my channel where I like to talk about books. And today I'm going to talk about Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. This is my third Toni Morrison book, and I really liked it. This book follows the life of Milkman Dad. He is a black man whose father is pretty well off. He's a property owner, does well for himself. His mother is the daughter of a well-respected black doctor, and so his family is well off financially, but there are lots of relationship problems among his parents, between him and his parents, his sisters, and this story is about Milkman trying to figure out what he wants and who he is, while also navigating between all the wants that everyone else has of him. Everyone else seems to want something from him. So there isn't one overarching plot. It follows Milkman from his birth throughout the entire story, and there's a very strong focus on character. The characters in this book are really memorable, and that's something that I found with all of Toni Morrison's works. She has really great characters, really interesting characters, complicated characters. No one is right or wrong. There are things about them that you can either sympathize with or maybe understand, and then other things that you just don't understand because you're not that person. And they're just so very interesting. And when I read Paradise, that's something that I loved about that book, were how interesting the characters were in that. And reading this actually made me want to go back and reread Paradise. For this book, I think that there are a couple of characters that really stood out, and I'm not sure if I liked this one more than Paradise, because I really liked Paradise, and that's kind of why I want to go back and read it. But there are some characters, like a couple particular characters, that I really thought were really interesting. Pilate, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce the name. I really liked her character, and I really liked Hagar. They were both very different, and their motivations were interesting. Everything with Pilate and her journey, like what she did with her life and her reasonings, were kind of poetic. One thing that I really like about the way Morrison handles character and developing the character is that she shows, like, through the relationships between different characters, who those people are. For example, one character may not like another character, may hate someone else, but rather than that telling us who that other character is, the one that's being hated, it tells us more about the character that is doing the hating, if that makes sense. So through their reactions to others, we get a better idea of who they are, and I love that. I love that she does that, and she does it with all of her characters. That's how we get to know them, really. When a character gets angry, then we learn why they're angry, and that gives us a clue as to what's going on inside them. And that is such a great way to develop a character. That is one of the reasons why I really enjoy Toni Morrison's books. The characters are always it's always so interesting to, discover the characters in this way. It's an enjoyable experience reading it. Morrison's stories always seem to have some kind of I wouldn't say fantastical element to it. It's not really. It's just kind of a magical moment that you can interpret different ways. Like, you can take literally or you can take metaphorically. She does it in Paradise. She did it in this. It's a little bit more blatant in Beloved. Would you call it contemporary or historical fiction? I mean, it takes place in the 60s or 70s, I'm pretty sure. But it's a realistic fiction, I guess. It's not what I typically read, and that's what I'm trying to get at. I don't typically read books that don't involve some kind of crazy fantasy, science fiction twist to it, although I do really like expanding what I read. For a book that I wouldn't normally pick up, I really enjoyed this. So if you really like character-driven stories, I would definitely pick up this book or another of Morrison's book. She's really good at the character, developing character. This is also a good book to see the different relationships between people within the Black community, depending on what their position was, what their role was. Like I said, Milkman's father is pretty well off. He's a property owner, makes decent money. His mother was born into money. Like, her father was a doctor, pretty well off doctor, if not kind of snobbish and uppity. And that has deeply affected their relationships with other people within their community, within their neighborhood, and how they're viewed and how they are able to interact with others. And then Milkman has a friend, Guitar, who has had a more difficult life than him, and they often butt heads in a seemingly friendly way, but there's definitely tension there, and the conversations that they have are really interesting. And then there are so many different characters and how they interact with each other and view each other, and how they trust or distrust each other. I think another reason why I'm thinking about this so much is because I just read Sister Outsider, and she talks a lot about relationships and connecting to others, and sort of overcoming barriers to make those connections. So I was thinking about that a lot as I was reading this book. So yes, I would recommend picking it up, definitely. I might reread Paradise soon, but then again, I always say I want to reread something, and then I never end up having the time to do so. Anyways, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.